I'm Brian Birch. I'm an independent contractor for Insurance Change. This video is about IFRS 17 and what factors may affect the cost for that, and indeed how you might keep costs as low as possible for the project. Let's think about what you mean by saving money. Are you comparing it to a zero budget, a normal project budget, a Solvency II project budget, whatever that was, or perhaps thinking into the future that money was well spent, that you don't regret any of the decisions you made? A lot of project management literature will talk about the trade-off between cost and risk and scope and quality. So if you spend the minimum on a project, potentially you are increasing the risk, or you're delaying things, or you may be compromising quality. There's a cost profile to some projects, and delaying costs and trying to minimize costs could be counterproductive in some ways. If you delay long enough and you have to hire people at a higher rate, then you may just be putting all the cost on the back end, spending the same amount and having less time and a lot more complexity to do it in that time. As well as that, you'll be getting new people on board and need to bring them into the team. So saving money has to be thought of in an overall sense, and not just at the beginning trying to save for the first few months. Now, in insurance, quite often companies are late adopters and they try to put things off. There are some sensible reasons for that, in the sense of if a cost ultimately doesn't have to be borne, then you may benefit from delaying. But on the other hand, if a cost then starts increasing because you've delayed, you have less time, you need to get a more expensive person to do it, then that may not save money, it may even cost more money. One of the factors affecting cost will be the mix between employees, contractors and consultants. If you have the right employees, there's a lot of reason to use them, but you may need to free them up. Contractors, you can bring them on board quite quickly and let them go if you don't need them anymore, and you can find out the right skills. And consultancies can have very deep knowledge and a lot of access to a lot of different people, so you can get a lot of quick answers there. The quality can vary, the availability can vary, and the price will vary. The scope of your IFRS 17 project will affect cost. There are some good reasons to have a large scope. If you're doing a finance transformation and if you can get it done and get a few things aligned, that sounds great. There is more risk in doing that, and it's a more complex project if you have to think of more things and have more people coordinating at the same time. One thing that would affect your scope is doing a vanity project where you're answering more questions or doing areas for more political reasons than technical reasons. We should really be careful about when we would want to do that. It's certainly worth thinking about the quality of the output. It needs to be of a certain quality. It needs to meet the requirements. It needs to meet the cultural and technical expectations of the organization. It doesn't need to go and answer every possible question, and there is a point where things can be gold plating. It's also worth checking if people just casually call things gold plating. Is it in fact just doing a reasonable job, a good job? So it's worth having a little bit of depth in those discussions. What is needed, and what's needed for the short term, and what's needed for an ongoing sensible solution. Is your organization trying to delay the decisions in the project of IFRS 17? If there's a feasible likelihood that it will not need some or all of the project, then there may be very good reasons to do that. There may be companies that will choose to not use IFRS at all, and they may have the option to do that. But unless you have the right level of lobbying ability, and if you're already using IFRS, then I don't see a way out of doing the project, doing IFRS 17. There's a lot of good reason to start early, understand what is needed, and find a good balance of quality and cost and risk to be able to go forward. Another factor about starting early is you can do the preparatory work with a little bit more time and with a bit more clarity perhaps. It may be better to have that time to get a clearer decision, a more coordinated delivery phase when that happens. It's worth considering whether the company or people are denying that IFRS 17 is going to come in, or are they using prudent risk management to assess what needs to happen. One of the phrases going around is start early, start small, keep it simple, and it is in fact a very big project, so it's worth checking that you have the right scope and you know about the right level of quality. There could be a lot of different aspects to IFRS 17 with different systems, different processes, new data, new accounting and actuarial work that needs to be done, calculations there, software, and international aspects, and perhaps several regulators or auditors to think about. It's quite a broad consideration to think about the type of people you want to use, to make sure there's the right fit, that the project as it goes, it will fit with the culture of the company, that there's enough time to make sure that it matches up not just technical requirements, but the way the company wants to do that. That may be seen by the level of knowledge, the level of handover knowledge, the level of automation, and the right level of tools. Do you want a quick and dirty solution, or do you want something that makes more sense long term and fits with other parts of the company, both in terms of culture and processes and systems? There are some things that could waste money if you conduct a review and then don't use the conclusions from that review. If you get a quote for something and I've never really any likelihood of getting that particular firm to come in and do the work, it could waste some money, it could waste some time. It may get the right relationship and you may use that firm for other reasons, but it's worth considering the cost implications of that, because it will add to the cost. And there's a point about a broad conversation, getting the right people educated, getting them to understand the implications of IFRS 17. That could be about coaching, about training, about helping people understand the implications for their role and the numbers that they will use. Sorry if I haven't reduced your budget for IFRS 17 by a massive amount, but the idea here was to consider some of the aspects that will affect cost on an IFRS 17 project. I'm Brian Birch, and I hope your project goes well.